Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree.
Well, since they're not going to tell us any details, if they write pelvis injury, I'm assuming it's a sex injury.
Dang, dude. I was going to say, how else do you injure your pelvis?
I don't know.
Other than a car crash, maybe.
The Third Degree Net Podcast.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fan. Welcome to episode 279 of Third Degree, the podcast. There he is, the good Dan Crooke. Howdy, Dan.
Hello, hello.
And your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder of thirddegree.net, and the original soccer influencer himself, the good Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hey, fellas. Feels weird doing this on a Thursday.
We sound also just enthusiastic right now.
You know, Buzz, you posted on the interwebs that for, I think the quote was it various personal issues or reasons?
I said low-key.
Low-key personal reasons.
Not unimportant reasons. Just stuff.
I would like the curious to submit their guesses as to what this low-key personal reason is. I submitted mine a couple of weeks ago that Buzz has started taking up Pilates and now has a Pilates class on Wednesday night. But I encourage all curious to submit their guesses. And the funnier, the better. Dan, do you have a guess?
No, I'll have to think about that one.
Come on. You're British. You have that wit. You're supposed to have something right off the top of your head.
Yeah, but our wit's mostly self-depreciative.
Just the snappy British thought would be so delightful right now.
I'm taking up a tea class.
He did it for you, Dan.
Yeah.
You let him do it for you.
Don't put it in the bloody microwave, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Don't put what in the microwave?
Water, tea, milk, anything. Microwaves do not factor in cups of tea.
Wait, so is that really seriously a thing? Like if you microwave your water for tea, you're a bad tea maker?
You're a bad person.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is this? How is it different than boiling the water?
Well, Adolf Hitler used to do it. Pol Pot did it. John
Hitler,
Wayne Gacy probably did it.
No. Hitler did not have
Ed
a microwave.
Maybe he did. You know.
Pol Pot did not have a microwave.
Those Nazi scientists were desperately playing around with radiation.
Why is the blinking numbers?
Can we make the beep a little bit more amenable?
How do I set the clock?
What is a VCR?
It says blinking 12s. Excellent. I don't understand.
Yeah, they're good.
No, seriously. So like that's a big, huge English no-no to microwave your water for tea. Really, seriously.
Yeah, because kettles exist.
But you have to wait for the water to boil.
Yeah, but in the UK it's 230 volts, so a kettle takes like a minute and a half to boil.
All right. Is this news to you too, Buzz? Is it as me?
No, I knew that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I'm a lifelong tea drinker, so
absolute hero.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't.
Yeah, I would never microwave water for tea. You're awful if you do that.
I mean, I'm not a tea drinker. I mean, I drink iced tea, but I don't. My wife has a kettle and she makes tea every morning, so I'll have to inquire this with her.
There you go.
Actually, you know what? She sometimes she reheats her tea by putting it in the microwave. Does that make her a bad, awful human Hitler
less
type?
Terrible.
Is she a Pole Hitler?
No, somehow that's less bad because that's at least like making a second use of something. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't make the rules. I only come from a place that does.
I was not prepared for 10 minutes of tea talk at the start of the podcast.
It's your fault. You made the joke.
Well, yeah, but it was just a joke. It wasn't the kickoff of a 10-minute discussion.
Okay. All right. I'm sure the curious loved it. Because really, do we really want to talk about the other thing at hand? Do you really want to start talking about the game against Vancouver?
Really. No, not really.
Do you want to talk about donuts on the road?
No.
Okay. T-Talk doesn't seem so bad now, does it, Mr. Buzzard?
Well, I gave you like 20 other options of things to talk about right in the middle of the thing once we get through
And tea was one of them.
And I'm not sure if that stuff's any more interesting, frankly, because it's all crummy right now.
It is.
All right, here we go. Yes, Dallas goes to Vancouver and gets the rare road point. In fact, am I correct in saying this is only the 5th point they've achieved on the road this season?
Yes.
1 win and 2 ties?
No, it's 5 ties.
Oh, 5 ties.
So
On the
8 points.
road?
Yeah, 1 win, 5 ties, 8 losses.
Okay. I have not been paying attention, clearly, or I've let them just slip out of my head. But yes, they go to Vancouver, a place they typically don't play very well, and don't have a great track record. And despite Vancouver missing literally like half their starting lineup, can only manage a donuts 0-0 and come home with just a mere point. And it was not a fun game. And the whole time I was watching this, Buzz, I kept thinking, man, this looks an awful lot like Nico Esteves soccer that I'm watching right now.
It did, in the sense that it was low chance creation, but it may have been for different reasons. May not have been by a desire to be defensive. It may have actually been just by an inability to be offensive. Vancouver played a system that has a bunch of midfielders across the middle, and they basically sat off of Dallas a little bit and didn't really press aggressively, and it made it where it was very, very difficult for the FC Dallas back three to pass out of the back. That collective 3 players only had 3 progressive passes the whole game. They could not line break out of the back. They could not build out of the back, and that's effectively stymied the entire Dallas everything, because they also, because they didn't have Rouen, they didn't really have any players willing to play over the top either. So they didn't really have the ability to stretch the field, and they kind of just got stymied, and they just didn't create any chances at all, hardly. Had one of the lower XGs of the year, had one of the lower shot totals of the year, didn't get really make any really good chances at all. So on the other side of the coin,
6 shots.
Six shots,
only 2 of which were on frame.
Only one starter got a shot on target. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. Areola, I think maybe. It was a weird game. And defensively, Vancouver had a decent amount of shots, but they were a lot of them from fairly far out. They weren't particularly good either. They had a higher volume, but they weren't really on target or dangerous. Maurer had a really good game in the sense that, like, he had a couple of big saves when it mattered. He only had 4 saves though, which is not a very high total. Now they were big, and some of them got him, especially the one late in the game, got him under the team of the week. But it's not like it's not like he had to make 8 or 9 saves like Martin Paz does frequently. So relatively speaking, Dallas played a somewhat defensive game. But again, I don't think it was necessarily like, hey, let's play a bunker Nico style. It was just that they couldn't get out. Mm-hmm. So they were all in a defensive position all the time. And it just was a really terrible game by Dallas across the board.
Did you have a chance to watch it, Daniel?
I got back from the Cotton Bowl to watch the last 20 minutes. And based on that 20 minutes, I went, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you didn't miss much. And I felt like it felt very Nico Esteves, because the team just looked so hesitant to do anything attacking. And you put it probably better than I did, Buzz, that it was just that they couldn't do it. But the backwards passing, the patient playing the ball back and forth amongst the center backs, and just refusing to play the ball forward or try to get in behind was just, it was like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, with Vancouver's 5 across and then the 2 strikers making it 7 across, they were just finding it impossible to find anybody to outlet. Areola was getting pinned against the sideline. You saw Leggett and Yaramendi both trying to check back and find outlets, and they ended up trying to get over to more and more to the right side the longer it went on, which took Sam Junka out of play kind of. It just was really terrible. Like, they're ordinarily their ability to line break up through the middle, whether it be on one side or the other, was just non-existent. So it was very tough to watch, and a couple of the backs had decent enough passing percentages in the sense that they didn't turn it over a bunch, but they just could not get into the offensive third. They couldn't really hardly even get to the offensive half. And that meant that they just had nothing all night long.
And it was the return of a start from Jesus Ferreira, who played, was on obviously a time restriction. I assume that's why he went off exactly like at 60.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah,
Were you at all surprised he started this game, being the fact that it was on turf? And
not because of the turf, but it's the previous game he'd only gone 30. So I was surprised they went from 30 to 60. I thought maybe you might, if you did start him, you'd go 45, or you might bring him in at halftime. That's kind of what I was thinking might happen. Not not a full 60 from a jump from 30 to 60. So
yeah, I gotta say,
it was a little aggressive.
Yeah, well, not just that, but I know it's his first start and everything, but man, he just looks like a shell of himself right now, and it's hard to be judgmental on the poor guy considering, his situation and the fact that he's been injured and coming back from all that stuff. But he just does not look like the same dude at all.
Well, in the context of this game, he really, and the whole front three really struggled to see hardly any of the ball at all. I mean, they just didn't get the ball up front to them. I think like Ferreira had 28 touches. It's like, that's not very many for a longer performance.
And in fairness to him, he did make a couple of really good passes that Musa couldn't complete anything with. So maybe I'm being a little harsh there, but I also feel like that him playing off in this position just drags. He's so often hidden out in the middle of nowhere, off near the touchline. And I don't know if that's him doing that. I don't know if he's being told to do that. It just feels like you're taking one of your best ball control guys and you're just moving him as far away from the ball as you possibly can. And I don't get it.
Well, we've talked about this a fair bit. He's supposed to be underneath in central, like the two. They're not really wingers. They're, these tens underneath Musa.
Uh-huh.
And in this game, it was Jesus, and it was, it should have been, I think it was in Sebeling. It was up there. Off the top of my head, those two guys are supposed to be.
It was him and Sebeling and Musa.
Central, right? The width is supposed to come from the wingbacks overlapping. So if Jesus is running out there and getting out to the touchline, that's just Jesus and his inability to be disciplined. His want to just run everywhere to try and find the ball rather than being where he's supposed to be. Because those two guys with the two sixes, in this case, Leggett and Yermani, are supposed to basically make a box and open up the wide spaces to Junca and in this game, Areola. So, if he's in the wrong position, probably it's out of his desire to get the damn ball, because he wasn't getting it. He's probably trying to figure out how to get it. So he's trying to go and walk about trying to find it. But to be fair, that's not where he should be. That's not what he's supposed to be doing. So, the problem with Jesus Ferreira is that we all know what his best position is, which is, up front as probably an off striker, or this false nine. And when you have Musa, either you can try and figure out a two striker system, which so far the two coaches they've had have not figured out how to do, or you're going to have to play him as one of these false wings, if you will, underneath. And so far it's not ideal. It's not working great. So, I mean, what you do with the Musa Ferreira combo is one of the biggest questions this team's going to have to answer past the next 6 games, because I don't think you're going to find an answer for it in the next 6 games. It's not likely.
No. Let's see. Yeah, the front three, I mean, Musa didn't have a good game. This is one of those games where my read is Musa, because it's not been like this a lot, but there have been times where you just get the sense that Musa would rather be somewhere else than in that particular moment. Like I didn't feel like he was giving out his best performance. And I don't know if it's the turf, the travel, or what, or he's just, along the end of a long season. I don't know.
Well, we've talked about this since he got here. He just carries himself that way. You remember when he first arrived, you said the same thing. It's like, they don't want to be here. And he even had a quote where he talked about it. He said, he said, I'm just like that. He goes, I do want to be here. Mm-hmm. It's not, I am demonstrative in a sort of bad vibe way. I've tried to be better about it. I'm paraphrasing. It's basically what he said.
Not everybody can be Cobra.
Yeah, well, and Jesus is the same way. He and Jesus are the same in that
That's
regard.
True. That's a really good fact. Yeah, that's right. They do kind of.
And I don't think you can, based on his performances of a year, I don't think you can say the guy doesn't want to be here. In this particular game, again, he had 2 shots, which was more than anybody else had, basically, except for who had more than that, Areola. But then Areola played wing in the second half instead of wing back. That is one interesting thing that happened, is that Coach Luxon changed the formation to a 4-3-3 at halftime. So, guys played different positions. It was a fascinating flex that they were doing, but it didn't work either. So, it just was a poor performance overall. And I don't think, honestly, at this point in the season, you're missing some pieces. This team obviously still stinks on the road. They stink on turf. They stink in Vancouver. Maybe it's the long flight. It's just, at some point you just go, you know what, moving along. Let's celebrate that Jimmy Maurer was fantastic in what is probably his last game. And that's really the one takeaway is awesome. Jimmy, who's been a great servant for this club a long time. And, if that's a curtain call, so be it. What a great way to go out.
Yeah.
If we see him again, awesome too. But
that save on the breakaway, I mean, I just thought, okay, that's curtains. This game's done for. And the fact he pulled that save off was a whole lot of him and a little bit of bad finishing on the striker's part. I don't remember who it was that he saved the ball on, but yeah.
I mean, the save with like a minute left is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
you know,
that was all the plaudits and awards he got over the course of the week were totally deserved.
Yeah, I mean, team of the week on 4 saves. It was the quality of them, not the quantity. You know, he earned it.
Yeah. We also saw Mr. Velasco return, and I have to admit, I was really surprised they threw him out there on the turf.
I mean, for 10 minutes, again, like, what's he going to do? It's just, he had 5 touches, you know, you just let him run around a bit.
And,
you know.
Well, I just, considering what's going on, I mean, I don't know. It was very late in the game. It did seem like a weird 10 minutes to put him on to try to get something. Like you said, he didn't touch the ball very much. But that does make me wonder. So will we end up going to the end of this season and ever have a conversation about the what's the best analogy, Dan? Is it like calling him the shooting star of Bernard Kamungo? Like it's flamed out and we've just completely lost everything. All the hype on this kid is been wasted over the course of this season, I feel like, because I don't know, it's the formation, what they're asking him to do. We just don't get anything out of him anymore.
But have you heard he's got a really interesting story?
No, would you like to tell it to me?
I wouldn't, but plenty of people at FC Dallas definitely would.
But has he played soccer with a ball made of condoms, socks, and plastic bags?
I don't believe condoms were involved in that story, were they? That's news to me.
I don't remember.
Yeah, when was he playing soccer in Deep Ellum?
Well, in his favor, you know, he did play just 30 minutes and again, only had 12 touches. He couldn't get the ball, but in those 12 touches, he had 2 shots and 1 on target, which 1 on target equaled the best of the game. You know, he had, a couple of progressive carries. He was 50% on take-ons. So like in 30 minutes.
Has he been hurt?
Put in some, no, he's just, as you said, he doesn't fit this system. Like, remember, this system doesn't use pure wings. This 3-back system we're using, 3-4-3. You know, it's a false 10 underneath, right? It's a false wing underneath. It's not a wing. So like, you know, they tried him at wing back. He doesn't get it. They've tried him at this false position. He doesn't really get it. You know, it's like, if the problem is like, if it's all about how to develop Bernie, if he's the guy, then you can't play this system, but it's not about that. They're trying to win. And, you know, and Bernie becomes an afterthought. You know, it's funny that like Bernie and Allen have both had a wasted season, and Allen's was because of injury, and Bernie was just because they were so desperate they couldn't play him, and they can't afford to give him the time to play into the system.
All right. Well, it wasn't a fun game. It was a really not a good game for either team. Frankly, there wasn't a lot going on there. And I am interested that they've picked up Armstrong, the Southampton guy, Stuart Armstrong, the kid that was playing, the Scottish kid, he's like 32. I wonder, I'll be curious to see what he does in this league. Because he was a really nice player for Southampton. Yeah.
I mean, he was only 7 minutes, but I thought, just watching him move, I thought, oh, yeah, okay, good signing. Yeah. I mean, I know 32, but
well, you know what? That's actually interesting. Like for people who are new to the league or new to the sport, there are people that you can watch and instantly tell that they are better players by just how they carry themselves, how they receive the ball, how they pass the ball. And that is a great example where there's a guy you saw literally 7 minutes of. And if you know just enough what to look for, you go, okay, that's a player right there.
Who was I reading about? There's a coach. Maybe it's Pooch. They were talking about he watched a guy for 5 minutes and like, nope, I'm done. It's like 5 minutes.
Did you call him Pooch?
Yeah, Pochettino.
That's poached. Yeah. It's poach.
Yeah, it's pooch.
It's not pooch. It's not like your belly, like you're bloated.
We live in Texas. This is the deep South, bro. It's pooch.
Sorry, did you say cooch?
Yeah.
He called him Pooch.
Yeah, it's Pooch.
It's not Pooch.
It is Pooch. It is now.
It'd be like calling you Booze.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes,
that also applies.
I'm going to start calling you Booze.
At least I know to pronounce it Maurizio and not Mauricio.
Okay.
Wait, it's not Morris?
No, it's Morris. Pooch.
Pooch. Yes.
I like calling him Pooch.
Okay, it's your podcast. You call him whatever you want.
It's kind of a nickname because I'm not necessarily a huge fan, but I can't remember who. I don't want to say it was him. Maybe it was Bielsa. It was somebody famous, and they were like, they said that within 5 minutes they can see if they can't see the quality they want, then they're like, I'm out. And I was like, I get it if you're coaching at a level of this elite level, like if you're scouting for Man City, like I should be able to tell in 5 minutes the dude is just wrecking whatever league he's in, or we're not interested.
See, I would think that is true for anybody that has made management or scouting their career. Like you should be able to identify a player at least at some level within 5 minutes.
Maybe it would depend on the game. Like if you showed up at this game to scout
FC Dallas scouts are excluded from this conversation.
Well, think about this. Like if you were or whoever pick whatever EPL coach you want, if you watch this game this last weekend to scout Jesus Ferreira, he didn't even see the ball. It's like, sure. I mean, within sometimes within 5 minutes they don't get the ball enough, but
right.
But I would agree with you in a lot of ways. Like sometimes I feel like that with academy games. There's some kids every once in a while that I watch, and within 5 minutes, I'm like, holy smokes, this kid can move. There've been guys I've reacted to that quickly. So, and I'm not even like a real scout.
We were out at Spectrum, and there was a pickup game going on, and it was a bunch of like 20 and 30-year-old plus or older guys, and there was this one teenage girl. And she was so clearly better than everybody else out on the field, just purely from her movement, just moving into space and making space for her teammates and getting herself open for teammates. It was really funny to watch because she clearly had been coached right. And it was just a bunch of fat guys that were waiting to go drink beer, and she was so much better than the rest of them. And it fascinated me that a 17-year-old girl could just be fundamentally a better player than a bunch of 20 and 30-year-old guys in the year 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you mean. I remember, I may have even told this story. I remember playing against a guy one time, and I'm not even near that level, of course. And the first time there was a transition, I turned around to go the other way, and he was 15 yards away from me. And I was like, oh, I'm screwed. Like he just smoked me the whole game.
Yeah.
And within 10 seconds, I knew he was going to, just because of that very first transition reaction. And I was so far behind the play compared to him.
They're built differently these days, for sure.
Well, no, this was a long, long time ago. It wasn't about me being fat. This is when I was in the prime of my career, which is not, career is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like whatever level you're playing at, when you run into a guy who's at a level way above you, when they do something like that happens, you instantly know you're screwed because the dude reads the game so far beyond you, and that's what can happen in 5 minutes.
I get it. It happens to me every Tuesday night at Spectrum.
Yeah.
These days. Okay, so 0-0. Dallas ends up with the point. They're still in 10th place. Let's take everybody's temperature. Are Dallas going to make the playoffs? Dan?
How long is a piece of string?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Buzz, where are you on this adventure we're on?
Yeah, I'm now that they're not going to. I was looking today at some numbers of what people think the playoff line's going to be. And a couple of people were now listing it at 46 instead of 44, which means that they would actually, Dallas effectively needs 4 wins out of their last 6 games to make it.
Okay.
Probably, and you can do things like we've done this, right? We went through the schedules and we know other teams have bad schedules, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to have to get a certain point total based on how people have performed on the whole year. So really you have to, from a bulk perspective, they got to win 4 out of 6, and that's going to be pretty damn difficult. 3 at home, 3 on the road. It's going to be good luck.
Okay.
Because ties won't get it done. As Dan says, you can tie your way into relegation.
Boy, can you. Except in MLS.
Well, you know what I mean,
yeah.
relatively speaking.
Yes. All right, so we're going to go to the playbook of answering a question from somebody in the Discord, and this comes from the good El Chorizo, I think his name is Scott.
Yeah.
But wait, El Chorizo may not want to have been identified.
Bit late for that, isn't it?
Well, he put his name in parentheses in the question, so he must have.
Okay. Mr. Sausage's question is, what does each out of contract on option player need to do in remaining games to get picked up? So, Buzz, I am going to read a name in alphabetical order, and you and or Dan can give a brief explanation, yes or no kind of deal.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
And do we even have to bother with his first name?
Yeah. And I'll go first on the first one, and Dan go first on the second one.
All right. Eugene Ansah. No.
Yeah. Peter's a no. I'm going to say he would have to score a goal in every game remaining to get picked up.
Has he scored a goal for this team?
I don't remember.
Did he score a goal last season? He might have.
Maybe.
Like he tapped one
out.
Or...
He definitely has. He definitely has.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I'll have to look and see what it is.
So
but, he's on $700K.
Yeah, it's a $700,000 goal. So congratulations to Eugene Ansah. He's our winner this season. Okay. Antonio Carrera. Dan?
Obviously, you keep.
Okay. Buzz?
Yeah. The answer is like, it's no question you're going to keep him. It doesn't matter what he does the rest of the season. You just keep playing him in North Texas.
All right. Patrickson, his loan is ending at the end of this season. Buzzard?
Oh, you know what? I actually think this is out of his hands. It's going to depend on the price of the buy. If the price of the buy is $5 million, then he's not coming back. If the price of the buy is under $1 million or around $1 million, then maybe. I think he did enough in terms of his performance and how young he is that they'll want to keep him. So it's all, and we'll probably never know the buy price until it actually happens. So it's, again, that one is almost impossible to determine until we learn what the price was.
Okay. Mr. Herbert Endeley, Dan, what does he got to do?
He's got to climb out of the hole that he's fallen into in the roster.
He needs to play some soccer.
Yeah. Well, he's playing a lot in North Texas. I think in his case, this one may also be a little out of his hands. It'll depend on how much jettisoning of, Juan or Tomasi or Giovanni Jesus happens in front of him, because he is a very cheap, player that has played a couple of games at the MLS level.
Okay. Well, I think this is silly to even be on this list. Logan Farrington. Why is Logan Farrington on a rookie deal with an option already?
Yeah, he has one of these newer rookie deals that's just like rolling 1-year options for like 4 or 5 seasons. So he might need a new agent, but he, basically Dallas will just be able to pick him up. I mean, the answer for him is that he doesn't need to do anything. They're picking him up no matter what at this point.
Yeah.
So it's an easy one. It stinks for him. It's really cheap money.
Is Logan already the best draft rookie this team has had since Hedges?
Well, if you're going to go just on rookie season, I think he's outdone both Tesho and Hedges in terms of rookie performance.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you'd have to, maybe like Jason Kreis in 96 technically is a rookie. Maybe. That'd be about it.
I can't think of another rookie that has come in and been as good as quickly as Logan has. So
certainly if you mean a draft pick like out of college, I mean, that's, because otherwise you could say, oh, Moose is a rookie. I mean, that's not how that works.
I'm talking about somebody from the draft. Yeah.
I mean, Bobby Ryan or who was the other striker? Alexi Kroll, maybe. But even then, I think Logan outdoes all those guys.
Abe Thompson?
Better than that.
Yeah.
A little Jose Tavaca, maybe.
Yeah.
Different position.
Although Joselito wasn't a draft pick.
Yeah, he was. He was drafted out of the Tawichi.
Oh, okay.
And he was one of those weird, back then they would sign pro players.
That's right.
Like 2 or 3 of them that would be in the draft. Right?
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Liam Frazier. Dan, what's he got to do? Stick around. Get a new deal.
Get healthy.
I'm going to say that right now he won't be brought back because I think Show was his replacement. But I think the thing that would allow him to come back would be that Show would be really expensive, because otherwise I think Show's a better player in the same position, and because you're going to get Paxton back too, and maybe you're going to see a progression of Nolan Norris that might take some minutes there. So I'm really hesitant to say that Frazier could even get himself a spot back, even if he gets healthy. It would take something special out of him if he can make it the last couple of games to do something remarkable. I'm not optimistic.
I'm not a big fan of either one of them. The old man Omar Gonzalez.
I think it's my turn to go first. I would say he would have to prove he's a better center back than Marco Farfan, because right now they're picking Marco Farfan, who's an average at best, if not mediocre center back.
I'm telling you, if we get to the year 2025 and Marco Farfan is still a center back on this team,
I know
we're going to riot.
Yeah. I mean, it just the fact that he is just tells you something about Omar specifically, but also Korcha. There's just not.
Is Korcha even still on this team?
Yes.
Is he playing for North Texas?
He is. Yeah.
Is he any good for them?
He's not bad. He's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's on the list later. We'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah.
What about my very good friend and somebody I'm super familiar with, Malik Henry Scott? That's the weird thing. His brother, Tarek, is his brother, but does not share the same last name in Henry Scott. I don't know if you guys knew this about him.
Yeah, no, I did not know that. In fact, yeah, we knew that. Dan, you're supposed to go first on this one. What's he got to do to get it picked up?
Not a whole lot. Just keep progressing.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's done enough to get us. I mean, he's a North Texas player. He's there because his brother's there, and he's a long shot guy, but he's done fairly well in his first season. So
sometimes plays as a 9. Sometimes he's kind of a wide attacking player. Really nice guy.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Sebastian Ibiaga.
Is it my turn? I don't think he needs to do anything. I think that he'll pick him up. I know he's getting older, but I think they'll pick him up, hoping that
he's the backup.
That he won't be starting. Yeah, that he's the backup. And if they're going to be 3 at the back, if they have to start, the team will think if we starting him again, that's fine. They like him. I don't as the starter, but I think they'll pick up his option.
And oh crap, he's on this list.
Out of contract even.
Asir Larramendi is out of contract. There's no way he's signing a new deal to come back here, is there?
Well, all he's got to do is want to.
Yeah. He's a no-brainer to re-sign if he'll do it. I don't have any idea what his mindset is.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Let's have an honest talk here for a second. I mean, he obviously is having a good season, and the team tends to go as he goes, meaning whether he's playing or not.
Yep.
But he is 34.
Yeah.
Is he gonna if you're going to sign him, you don't want to sign him for more than another 1-year deal, or you're really just putting you're not doing yourself a long-term favor, because then you're going to end up with a 36-year-old center,
Yeah.
So
I'd give him 1 with an option for sure. Keep in mind that he won the beep test at the beginning of the season. So he's the fittest guy on the team.
But Buzz, you and I both know, once you get to 34, 35, that stuff changes very quickly.
Yeah.
It's not like a gradual decline. It's like you just wake up one morning and suddenly you ain't winning the beep test anymore.
Yeah. That's why I would go 1 + 1. And if he would take it,
he might not
even take it. He might want 3 years.
No, well, he may go. He could probably go find a second level team in Spain and get a 3-year deal easily. Or a second or third tier team.
Think about if you have to try and replace him though this winter.
Well, when I saw his name on this list, I just kind of got bummed out because this team trying to find a holding mid, especially now that Nico Esteves is gone, since he was the one that brought this dude in to begin with.
Well, that's why they pick up Frazier's option, because they can't keep Yarmendi. That's his replacement.
There's going to be this. Here's 2025. Your 2 starting holding mids are going to be Show and Frazier.
It could be. Yeah. It could be. I mean, hopefully not, but
Sam Junka.
I think it's my turn to go first, and the answer is he doesn't have to do anything. They damn well better pick that dude's option up.
How old is Sammy?
Young-ish.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, he's 26, 27. The thing is
27.
27. The thing is that he's entering the prime of his career, and granted, he's not a superstar player at any position, but he is a better wing back than Farfan. He's almost as good as an outside back as Farfan, and he's taller. So if you merge to center back, he might actually be better in certain circumstances than Farfan. But you can also play him at right back. You can play him at right wing back because he's able to switch foot play, which is actually a very modern, exciting prospect. He's played some wing. I mean, in a lot of respects, he's the new Hollingshead. So in terms of also phenomenal guy, locker room, well-liked, works hard. Up until they added Juan, he was the guy that had ran the most on the roster. And without even being a full-time starter, he had outrun everybody in terms of distance on this team. So he's a perfect, cheap player that you want on your roster. I think you pick him up. Absolutely.
You forgot his most outstanding attribute.
That he's incredibly handsome.
That he rescues cats.
Oh, that's true. And he's one of the best crossers on the team. So I think he has to do nothing to get his option picked up.
Okay. And he's incredibly handsome. Amet Korcha, who I just now realized his first name is Amet.
Dan?
He has to release some saucy photos related to Andre Zanata.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. Trouble staying healthy. He can't even get a game with FC Dallas at all. when they desperately need a center back. So, and there's a couple of prospects in North Texas I like better. So I think he's
going to be
luck too.
He's going to be making Buzz sandwiches at Chiba Hut next year. Is what I'm guessing.
He might be, because I love that place. Yeah, I don't think there's anything he can do to get us. I mean, start 6 games and dominate, I guess, would be the answer. That didn't happen.
So, Jimmy Maurer is out of contract at the end of this year. Just retire in style. Yeah. Let him become a coach.
I mean, this is a Dan go first one, but
I think he's kind of earned the right to do what he wants.
Yeah, it would be up to him. It would also be up to Antonio Carrera. Like if Antonio Carrera flames out for whatever reason and they're desperate, they might say, Jimmy, one more season.
Yeah. Okay. This one's going to be a controversy. Siki and Sebling.
Okay, if Peter Luxon is the head coach, then he has to do nothing because Luxon loves that guy. And I think under that coach, I think Siki has done more than enough to get picked up because he's super cheap and he's also likable and also works hard and doesn't rock the boat. If it's a different coach, who the hell knows? Because that player is not. Siki is not a guy that people are going to go, oh yeah, we got to keep that guy from outside the ship. Only inside the ship are they going to know his value.
Buzz,
Dan, you have any comments on that, or Peter? Go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead, Dan. Sorry,
I was going to say my only comment is Pochettino was pooch and boat was boot. You've slowly become Canadian.
What's that about?
All right, so Buzz, if Siki and Sebling is out of contract and available on the open MLS market,
yep. Well, it's an option, but yeah.
I'm making a hypothetical.
Sorry. Yeah.
What type of MLS team picks him up? Does he end up playing at Charlotte, or does he end up going to LAFC?
Well, I don't think anyone's going to look at him and think that's guy I need starting in my team. You don't, but the rosters have 20 guys that aren't starters.
So when you say Luxane loves this guy, does he love him as a roster part, or does he a roster dude, or does he love him because he thinks he can be a starter and a successful player for this team?
I don't know about starter, but there was a comment like right after Luxane took over, there was a game where they got Siki in there and he raved about how awesome it was and how badly and how desperately they needed Siki to play. And so this coach values that guy as a player. Now his valuation could be completely different than us, and who's right or wrong is hard to say. He's got his opinion, and his opinion is that Siki's a fantastic player and he loves him. So if that guy's the coach, I'm sure they're going to pick up Siki's option. If it's a different guy, the different guy may be like, I have no clue who this is. Don't pick him up. Granted, contracts have to be optioned fairly quickly.
If someone were to pick him up, San Diego, he would actually be a decent lower roster piece.
Okay.
Yeah, between 10 to 20 on your roster, he's fantastic.
All right. The great Buzz bust in the history of Buzz Carrick, third degree, Isaiah Parker.
Now, what I will say about Isaiah Parker is that Coach Nico Estevez hated that kid. Absolutely hated him. And
why?
I don't know.
Did you ever figure it out?
Sometimes people just hate people. I think, and it was way before, like they weren't super happy that he wanted to do a loan and went in line of his own loan to San Antonio, but Nico hated him before that. It's like when Oscar had that guy in from, was it Colombia or whatever, that blew his knee out, and Oscar was like, don't even bring him back. Just send him home to rehab down there. I don't want him. Oscar hated that guy. And this is the same way. Like Coach Nico just couldn't stand him. Something about his play or his mentality or the way he carried himself, I really couldn't even tell you, other than like he had zero chance to ever play for Nico Estevez. And then this season, down when they had a new coach down in North Texas, John Gall went to him and he said, hey, listen, I know the situation. We both understand the situation. Play this year for me to get yourself a good spot next year. Let's get some tape on you, show out for me, and you'll get a job next year. And he was doing that, and then he blew out his knee. Oh. He was having a great season for North Texas until he blew out his knee. So it's the same thing, though, is like the guy that hated him is gone. I have no idea what Peter Luxon thinks about this kid. You know what I mean? But he was a Generation Adidas player. He's just now basically finishing his junior year of college. So it's way too early to give up on the kid. You know, will somebody else want his Generation Adidas contract? He's got one more year on the Generation Adidas contract, which is a free cap player. So the answer is, what does he have to do is nothing. It's going to be down to whether whoever, it's just like some of these other guys. It's who's the coach. Does the coach like him at all? Does Peter Luxan like Isaiah Parker at all? If he hates him just like Nico did, then he's screwed. Get him out of here. Free the kid up and let him move on with his life. You know what I mean? So
at worst, he's a North Texas roster.
Yeah, at worst. At worst. And he was the best left back they had this year. Tyshawn Rose has not showed well since he came back. Parker was having a great season by the measure of North Texas. You know, would he have done jack squat with FC Dallas? I have no clue.
Was it a non-contact knee injury or was it a tackle in? Do you know?
It was kind of non-contact. It just happened. He was cutting, I think, to go around a guy, if I remember correctly, and popped it. So, you know, again, it's out of his hands, you know.
All right. What about who won?
Dan?
If the number's right and he's willing, well, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the money. That's it.
But I'm assuming the reason why he's here in the first place is that Montreal knew he wanted a metric fuck ton of money for being a right back and said no, thank you. And Dallas pay that either.
You know, he might have said, I don't want to live in Canada. I hate the cold. He's from Brazil. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, or maybe he just wants to be a place where he's valued or something. Didn't like their coach. I don't know. You never know. So they probably knew that he wasn't going to resign for whatever reason, but we don't know whether that's true here or not.
Do we know how bad his injury is?
Yeah, I mean, he showed up on the injured list as a pelvis injury, but the team right now, FC Dallas, they don't let us know jack squat about injuries. I mean, this whole year, right, they would say he'll be out 2 weeks, and 3 months later, he's still out, you know. And,
well, since they're not going to tell us any details, if they write pelvis injury, I'm assuming it's a sex injury.
Dang, dude.
I was going to say, how else do you injure your pelvis?
I don't know.
Other than a car crash.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But he doesn't need to do anything to get picked up. He just has to take the money or not. That's it. Jesus, dude.
You can edit it out. I don't care. I don't care. Children are listening. Sorry, Doc. All right, here we go. Dante Seeley.
I mean, for me, this one's like Ansah in the sense that, like, you know, somehow get in the game and score in every game the rest of the way, because he has been after he won the job coming out of spring, he's basically been flat out awful the entire season. So I don't, you know, the only reason that I can see Dallas thinking is worth picking up is some sort of residual value on the fact he was a homegrown and was once really highly thought of, because otherwise there's no reason at all to bring him back.
That dude needs to go somewhere in Europe and go play on some, like, you know, second division Norwegian team or something and just rediscover himself. With no pressure, no nothing. States.
Just go somewhere and find the love of the game again or something, or whatever it is, some desire. He just doesn't have it.
Yeah. All right.
You know, the mindset matters.
All right. Our flashy dude, Nkosi Tafari.
Dan, you're up.
Doesn't have to do anything. Yeah,
of course, it's a no-brainer. Pick him up.
Okay.
Yep.
And Emma Tuamase.
This one is also like a couple others we've mentioned. I think it's out of his hands. It's going to depend on whether Giovanni actually ever comes back to this club or not, because as far as I can tell, he's not even in the country. I don't want to. That's not official reporting. It's just I can't tell where he is. Obviously, if they can keep Juan, then now he's like third at the depth chart. So his money is starter money too. So I think it's probably the answer probably is that they're going to have to, in order for Ema to get picked up, they'll have to figure out that he's going to be the starter again next year, and that Juan and Giovanni will not be here. I'm not saying that they should. I'm just saying that that's the decision point that will make the difference of whether he'll get picked up or not. But if somebody else will pick him up either in this league or he'll be a starter in USL Championship, the guy's got, you know, half his career left. So it's just not going to be here, I don't think.
Okay. All right, that's the list of players that are either out of contract, loan ending, or have an option. So
yep.
Do with that list as you may. Your mileage may vary. RSL, so they're off this weekend. They've got this weird bye week happening now, so they don't get to play, which is probably a good thing since Paz was on his international break balling out for Indonesia. good Lord. What a story that is turning into. He's like up to like 1.5 million followers now. Like some significant percentage of the population of Indonesia now follow him online. And he, from what I saw, he played really, really well for them in their 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, the highlights I saw look good. Yeah, I mean,
saved the penalty and won, didn't he?
Yeah, were those World Cup qualifiers?
They were African Cup of Nations qualifiers, I believe.
Not
That's
not Africa.
weird in Asia.
I'm sorry. They were Asian world. I was thinking of shows that AFCON qualifiers. Indonesia was in Asian World Cup qualifiers.
And didn't they tie Australia?
Yeah, goalless.
I mean, that's an impressive. I mean, Australia's a World Cup team, so that's good. So good for him.
I mean, so here's the thing: they've really got to put those little results together because their group is Japan, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, them, Australia, China.
I mean, he's part of an initiative they put together that was like, get us into the World Cup. How do we go and get players that have these vague ancestral connections to make our team better? Like, and it's working.
Well, good for him, man.
Yeah.
And if you want to read about his ancestral connections, just search his name on the blog.
Dan's got a great article about it. Yeah.
Good on you, Dan. All right, so there's that, and so the RSL game isn't until a week from yesterday, so it's not until Wednesday. And then
the positive? The positive is that the guys coming back from those long flights, as you just mentioned, will have more time to recover.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my point. Was they kind of get lucky that way, and then Dallas then has to go. So they have the road game in Salt Lake. Good Lord, that's going to suck.
Yeah.
Are there any suspensions or injuries that we're concerned about there leading into that game? Like, does Velasco start finally?
Oh, no way. Not for me. I mean, you saw him run around. Do you think that
I
looks
can't
like a guy
tell.
To start again? Oh, man. Oh, not to me. I mean,
Buzz, they only got like 6 games left this season. If they're going to get something out of that kid, if they did not IR him for the season, they've got to get more than 20 minutes out of him with this little left in the season.
I don't know why you're yelling at me. I'm the one that said IR him.
All right.
I'm just saying, like, the player that I saw running around on turf is not ready to start a game, in my opinion. He hasn't even gotten to like a 30-minute window yet. He's only getting 10 minutes.
Okay.
You got to get him to 30 before you can start.
That's right. And then on Saturday is the LAFC game. I'm actually going to go to that game with some friends, so I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I get to see the handsome Olivier Giroud.
Well, if we keep our mind on RSL for now, Paz is back, Show is back to start. Delgado is perhaps in the mix. But, Ferreira's back in, Moose is up top. So, that you'll have whether Juan is back or not is a question. So either Areola's on the right with Junca left, or Juan is in on the right and Areola's left at your wing backs. The only question is, who do you play? Show Iramendi is the combo in the middle. So then who's up top? Leget's back up top. Maybe Siki's on the bench with Leget and Ferreira playing underneath Musa. It's pretty self-explanatory at this point when you get the pieces back, because Coach Luxena kind of dialed in pretty close to what his 11 was going to be, just depending on the health of Juan now.
Okay. And then Fridays, by the time people are starting to listen to this or have listened to it, Dallas Trinity will have played another game. They have Lexington at the Cotton Bowl on Friday night, the 13th.
Yes, they do. Lexington pretty far down in the league. They lost to Tampa Bay on Sunday, I believe. Coming off a 1-1 tie against DC Power, Dallas Trinity, that is. Bit of an interesting game. Buzz got to it as well. That was fun. We sat and complained about people recording a podcast, weirdly, in the press box.
During the game.
4 people recording a bloody podcast during a soccer game.
Whoa, wait. I'm sorry. I got distracted. Start over. What happened?
Oh, next to us in the press box, there were 4 people loudly recording a podcast in the front row of the press box.
Who are the 4 people?
I don't know. Some guy that shows up at FC Dallas games every now and again.
And they let him do it?
Couldn't tell.
They don't really know what they're doing down there. They had the president of the league was there, and they
Amanda Vandervoort,
and they offered to be interviewed if we wanted. And I did 3 or 4 little questions with her, and Shelby, Sydney did also. But before we did, like the print writers, they offered her to the guys doing the little podcast. And they did the interview in Spanish, using like a cell phone and a microphone, like a stick microphone. And the number one thing I picked up on was that they were talking to her as if she was the president of Dallas Trinity.
Oh no!
They took that this is the president, and they were like, okay, president of Dallas Trinity, and ran with it. And I whispered to like the PR guy, I was like, do they think she's the president of Trinity? And he was like, I think so. And they didn't say anything to him. So they did a whole interview with her, and they kept asking her about how she got Dallas Trinity ready to go, and like all these questions about Dallas Trinity. And I was just watched it meltdown live.
Goodness gracious!
Yeah.
Okay, so they got Lexington on Friday night.
They do. They have some. They have FC Dallas level injuries. They'd lost Maya Gordon during the Barcelona game. She still had her knee wrapped up and was limping around after this game. Haley Davidson's out with a leg injury. Rachel Pace missed the Barcelona game. She's still out. Jenna Weinbrenner had messed her foot up. Missed the last game. She's still out. Enzi Broussard, one of the wingers, is going to be is questionable, as is Jenny Julia Danielson, who is one of the pretty solid 3 center mids they've got going.
My other question is, whatever happened to them hiring that Scottish female manager? Like, why is she still not here?
Well, she's had apparently some sort of issues getting here. I believe, don't quote me 100%, related to visa stuff. They were the rumor around the press boxes, they were optimistic she would be here in time for this game coming up tomorrow, but I don't know if that's happened or not. And basically they signed her so late that she basically, like, when they were already starting to practice, and when they were like a week or 2 out of the games, and she was only here like on a tourist visa, so she had to go back to get a work visa, basically, is my understanding.
So is she still coming, or is it like, is that now up in the air that maybe this may not happen?
I mean, unless she gets banned from the country. I mean, stranger things have happened. Dallas lost a scout that way one time. FC Dallas.
All right. And so now that we've had an official league game at the Cotton Bowl, a slightly higher attendance than the Barcelona game. I think it was 53 to 5,800.
5,800, I believe it was.
Yeah, but the Barcelona game was like 5,300, right? I think it was 52, something like that.
Something like that.
All right. Let's just I gotta say, I'm a little not a little freaked out. I'm disappointed in the number. I suspect the Neal family are probably a grade higher than disappointed in that number. That's not 5,800 is not a sustainable number.
That's what I expected, though.
Okay. Maybe that's we expected it. But that's not a sustainable number for a professional franchise in this market, is it?
Well, probably not. But they have had some other teams draw 10,000 at home, so I don't know that it's not something they could get to. They just haven't figured out how to do it yet. I agree with you. I don't think 5,800 is sustainable. It depends on their expense load. I don't know what the Cotton Bowl's costing them. I don't know what
I don't think the Cotton Bowl costs them anything, does it? I think isn't that part of the Dallas deal is to pay for that? That's how they ended up doing that deal?
They get at least a concession, if not.
The city was going to pay some of the operating costs, but I don't know if that means you get it rent free necessarily.
A quick, I guess, some context about that attendance. North Carolina Courage last season, their average attendance was 5,300. This year it's 5,900. So, and they're one of the higher level professional women's soccer teams in the world.
Is that an NWSL team?
Yeah, they're a 2-time champion in NWSL.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe that's a number they can run with. I just, based on talking to Tripp when he came on the show and stuff, my gauge is I think they were expecting a much bigger number.
Oh, I think they were expecting way more than that. but they haven't tapped it for some,
I mean, the thing is, like we've talked about this for years and years with FC Dallas. The marketing hasn't been there for those larger numbers. They've got the board on 75 now, which is really cool. But unless everything from them is stories and reels on social media, which is great if you follow their social media channels. If you don't, you are never going to see it in a month of Sundays.
I am not a mass transit person by any means. I worked in Manhattan for several years in the 90s, and I really came to loathe the train ride. But that said, there's a part of me that really wants to try out taking DART, because there's a DART stop right by my house. I'm almost walking distance. It's not, but to park my car there, and I think it's 2 train stops, and it says I can be down at the Cotton Bowl in 33 minutes, which ironically is longer than it takes me to drive to Toyota Stadium from my house in my car.
I think the DART stop as well, with the construction, you have to walk to the opposite side of the Cotton Bowl from the DART stop.
Okay.
But that's still closer than the parking lots that they're letting the fans park in.
It's only like $2.50 to take the train, too. I may try.
Well, they're about to get rid of the PM one, so you'll have to do the $6 all-day pass.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
They're changing the DART fares next year.
Okay. So I'll get down to one eventually, and I'll probably try it that way just to experiment. You know.
I mean, for anyone that's taken the DART to the state fair or to the whatever the pavilion's called now, I mean, they have the little guys on the with the golf carts ferrying people back and forth. It's great. It's easy. It's cheap.
Okay.
It's fun.
So some quick Googling says that on average in the NWSL, the average is 10,000. And that varies from the San Diego Wave, who averaged 20, down to Chicago, which averages like 4. Now, the thing is that some of these averages get skewed because they'll have a marquee game or some kind of special thing, and all of a sudden there's 80,000 for one game. So it kind of tweaks it up a little bit. But within reason, that 10K figure for the average for the league across the last season, across 2023 is relatively reasonable for that league.
Yeah.
So, if I know this is supposed to be Division One, this Dallas Trinity, but we all know that right now the competition is not quite the same. They have not rolled out quite like we will maybe expected them to. So, 5,800 is probably an okay start. If they can build up from there, they can probably get to a sustainable number. I mean, Chicago's sustainable at 4,800 apparently. So again, it's all about revenue controls and costs.
It makes me wonder if part of the obstacle of them achieving a bigger number, ironically, is them playing in a downtown urban stadium. Like, is that not the thing everybody's been yelling about for FC Dallas, which is we want you in an urban setting near a mass transit stop.
Well,
and
here's the thing, that's a really cool thing if you play on Saturday evening. Tomorrow I'm working from home. I've got to sit in rush hour traffic for the best part of an hour to get to that game.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter, you remember that when the Dallas Burn were at the Cotton Bowl, instead of hearing, "Oh, it's too far," like we hear now, it was like, "Oh, East Dallas is the ghetto and isn't safe."
Yeah,
and we've been hearing that for 30 years. So I'm sure that that's a factor in how the attendance are getting.
Is that area considered the same way in 2024 as it was in 1996? I don't know. I mean, I don't know either. I mean, it's not. It's
Fair Park probably.
It's
was.
probably. I don't think it is. Dan, it was really bad back in the mid to late 90s. I mean, I'm not saying it's like Richardson or Highland Park or anything, but there's been a lot of growth down there and change and improvement in the Fair Park area since the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, that's probably fair, but I don't know that people's perceptions have necessarily changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people, with families and young kids that might be interested in women's soccer might be a little hesitant.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to say. I'm not in that segment, so it's hard for me to say, but certainly it could be a factor.
I guess my question is if in some weird hypothetical world they were able to work a deal to play at SMU at Gerald Ford Stadium, what kind of attendance would they get there?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Well, I mean, relatively in the urban area, but
So if you think about women's soccer, a lot of the fan base is going to come. Oh, let's preface that. Women's soccer is not linked to FC Dallas specifically. A lot of the support is going to come from the youth clubs. Sola's obviously got 4 or 5 players listed as academy amateurs for the team. That's a lot of suburban kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a lot of South Dallas kids.
No, you're right. Yeah, again, like I said, I think we talked about it on this podcast. There's a weird deal where you kind of wish they had worked a deal out with the Hunts to play up in Frisco. Amazingly, and maybe that's the other question. If they were playing in Toyota Stadium, what kind of attendance would they get?
I bet it would be the same.
Probably the same.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the people that want to go are going to go.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way. The people that complain about, FC Dallas should have been in Arlington.
Yeah.
They don't go to North Texas FC.
I don't think there's enough general brand awareness of Dallas Trinity that there's a group of people out there yet that are like, you know what, let's try that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think right now it's only resonating with people that are actual soccer fans, and specifically women's soccer fans that are like, oh, awesome, a women's team. Can't wait to do that. That's a small audience.
So the two home games they've had, I've noticed there's a lot of stuff like everyone watches women's sports T-shirts, things like that. So there is definitely a lot of this is women's sports. This is people who are going to support this league, support this team, support this market the same way they will with the Wings and any other professional women's sport and organizations that come about in DFW, and that's awesome. But like you say, it's the team also has to kind of grow their supporter base.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to watch as it goes by and see if this is a number that just kind of holds steady over the course of the season, goes up, down. I don't know. But good luck to them. Lots of fun. All right. Anything else we want to touch on, Buzz?
Well, just North Texas continues to raffle stomp everybody.
They continue to what?
Raffle stomp.
Raffle stomp?
Yeah.
Is that like the ruffle copter?
It's a gaming thing.
Oh.
They're stomping the tar.
Do you mean waffle stomp?
No.
Blue waffle stomp?
You know what? Never mind. I'm not going to explain the etymology of the word to you.
Well, I've heard the term waffle stomp. I've never heard raffle stomp with an R.
You never heard rolling on the floor laughing my ass off?
Yes, I have
raffle.
Heard that. Oh.
Raffle. So they raffle stomped the other team.
Oh, okay.
They're stomping them so much it's laughable.
Okay.
They raffle stomp them. Congratulations. Welcome to your 20s.
Okay.
An easy and decisive defeat.
Yes. So anyway, they continue to raffle stomp everybody, and they're really good. And they just stomped the LA Galaxy's 2 team, and lo and behold, Hope of AU, former North Texas player that we really liked and I thought would get signed by FC Dallas, popped up on their LA Galaxy's team. So that's all I really wanted to say was, other than North Texas is still really, really good, you should go watch them play because they're in first place. But also that this kid that we liked has popped up on the LA's team, and we wish him the best.
Okay.
It's a good player, good little player.
Well, very good.
And I'm glad I could educate you on raffle stomping people.
Well, I just thought you were mispronouncing the word. I didn't know there was a different word entirely.
Totally different word.
Totally different word.
That is the act to dominate someone to the point of embarrassment and shame, usually in a video game, derived from the popular acronym ROFL, meaning extreme laughter.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay, this is my chance to remind everybody to, if you're not already signed up, sign up for Buzz's Discord. Go buy a Buzz t-shirt. And if you want, you can go buy a Kick Around t-shirt on the Kick Around store if you want to.
All those things. I just want to take a second and actually really thank everybody that does support us because times are tough right now. TV is kind of a chaotic, dying business, and in a lot of ways. So I'm really appreciative of all the support that I'm getting, in fact. So it really makes a big difference.
Okay. All right.
And yes, go buy t-shirts from both of those groups.
I made, after Jerry did the spunt, Jerry Jones said the word spunt twice in an interview. I made a spunt t-shirt and posted it with the cowboy font. I sold exactly 0 of them.
Oh, I didn't even know you actually made it.
I know I made it. I made it. I
Yeah.
put it up in the store, and it's.
Oh, you really spunt the bed with that one.
Well, did she put it on Twitter or anything?
I put it on Twitter, and a couple other people, and people liked it and everything, but nobody bought one. I'm going to buy one because, one, I get a discount from the platform, and I just want to be able to walk around and see what people think about a shirt that says Spunt on it.
There's been a couple of times where people have been adding like how cool a shirt would be, and I've made it and no one has bought one. It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got nothing else. All right. Dan, anything? Going once, going twice?
No, I'm all spunt out of ideas.
All right. Buzz, you go raffle stomp somebody tonight or whatever when you're playing your video game.
Yeah,
okay?
no, I do. Yeah, I do.
I'm sure you're a big raffle stomper.
Wow, no, I'm too old to be that.
Okay. And thank you, FC Dallas Curious fan. Enjoy your weekend off. We will speak to you next week on another episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
Ruffle stomp, that's spunt.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.